Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 126 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. Totally thrilled that you're here. Today, I have the great honor of speaking to Phillippi Ryan. I am a big fan of her work, and this is a great interview. She really knows her stuff, and she knows how to tell a story. She's from the broadcasting world and understands really understands pacing, how to grab fast and keep the reader. We have a great talk, and it was so exciting to talk to her. So I know that you're going to enjoy that. In a little catch up of what's going on around here, it has been crazy busy in a way that I'm having a hard time keeping control of the reins. There's so much to do. In particular, today, I am just jam-packed from morning until night. I think I have 7 appointments today, various, podcasts, coaching, my class. It's moving from one place to another, making sure I get to the right place at the right time. And even while I look at my calendar and get a little bit scared of it, it feels really good. Also, because tomorrow I only have one thing to do, and that is taxes. So at some point today, I'm going to lose my mind and have to pull together all the tax stuff that I have put off for a year. This is the way I do it. It's kind of like being a writer and learning, getting to understand your best process. I know that first drafts are a bigger challenge to me than is revision, although I'm learning to say that I love first drafts. Ugh, I do. I'm writing 2 of them right now. And just, this is my process with taxes, is I completely blow them off all year, and then I have a terrible day before they get done. I have a tax professional do my taxes. She's fabulous, and I think she'll work remote, and I'll just give you her information right now. It's she's at done.tax, Katie. And her website is done.tax, which is awesome. Basically, I found her years ago, probably, I would say more than 10 years ago. I just went to a tax preparer place because I had financial income from books, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I had her do my taxes, and I fell in love with Katie. She is to taxes like we are to pens and stationery and thinking about writing. Her favorite day of the year is February 1st when tax season opens. Back in the day, I always tried to be her very first client on February 1st so that we could just geek out. And normally I get a refund, so it's always been very happy. Knock wood, that will happen again this year. I know that's not the best way to handle your money, but I like getting a little bit something back from Uncle Sam and not having to pay them. So she then left that practice and went and had a baby, and I kept with that practice and saw somebody there a couple of years, and I was like, this is not okay. I miss Katie. I miss my Katie. I miss this excitement. So I tracked her down on Facebook. I got her to do my taxes, and then I got her to do my friend's taxes, and now she has a full-fledged business running out of her house. And I have to tell you that tax day, when we do our taxes, is one of my favorite days, even though now I can't do it in February because those darn 1099s keep dripping in all through February. They're supposed to get to you by the end of January, but they don't. So usually we go in March, and my friend Sophie Littlefield and Juliet Blackwell, we always go together. It is the best. We schedule 3 hours with Katie, and while one person is in for her hour, the other 2 are either working or gossiping. I would say it's 50-50 chance of we're doing one or the other. And then at the end, the person who's getting the biggest refund has to buy lunch. And it just turns into this party. And even though one of us, and I won't mention who, usually ends up owing quite a bit of money, because she makes a lot of money, that's a good problem. It's cheerful. It's cheerful. We have such a good time. So I recommend a tax party. In fact, I've been telling Katie she needs to do like tax parties like we do, candle parties, where she's in the back room doing taxes and everybody else is out drinking. I just think, I wouldn't be drinking, but everybody else could be drinking, and I just think that would be so fun. So that's tomorrow. At some point, I do need to pull together all of my tax stuff because a lot of my life is write-offable, including all my books, all my retreat travel, so much gas as I tootle around the Bay Area and farther to teach. So it takes some time. I'm actually kind of a person who really likes spreadsheets and math, so it's not something that I'm actually dreading. It's just something I don't like to do until the very, very, very last minute because I am that way. That's how I write. I write up to a deadline. You may empathize with that. Speaking of things that bring in finance and must be reported, I would like to thank new Patreon supporters. I have this really cool new app. You may be interested. Actually, I just thought of this, honestly. I have this new app that if you become a new patron, I get this alert from some app. I can't remember what it's called. And it opens up this thing and I get to thank you personally. Like I send you a video saying, "Thanks, Tom. You're amazing. Look where I am. There's a dog on top of me. I'm on the couch. I'm reading a book. You are the reason I get to do this, lying on the couch and reading a book, which is work." So it's kind of fun. I've been doing that. So I have Julie Lyons is a new patron. Thanks, Julie, so much. Mariah, you edited your pledge up. Thank you. Thank you. I did not get the trigger to send you a video, but you know I love you. And Chichana Simpson. Thanks, Chichana. I haven't recorded your video yet, but I will do that as soon as I finish this. If you guys would like to look into becoming a patron, you get all of my essays, one essay a month, and the full 25 plus backlist, which I think is the best work that I do, honestly, is my creative nonfiction. You get all of that for $1 a month. Go look at the perks, patreon.com/Rachel. What else? Everything's going along. I've been writing a lot. I've been writing a lot on the thriller, and my agent actually allowed me to ping my editor. It's actually not time to hit her with a proposal for the next book. It's written into the contract when we can do that. But I do want to share this idea with her because I'd really like to know if I want to sell this to her next time, which it would be great. If it worked out that way, I want to know that she's not completely anti this idea because I don't want to write an entire book that she would hate. So, of course, we could always sell it otherwise or self-publish it or whatever. But that's what I'm doing. So I just sent that scary email off, and writing the chicklet has been so fun. I don't know what I'm doing with that silly book, and it is a joy. I just keep throwing like fanciful, wonderful things that I like to obsess over. I just threw tiny houses in. Now there's a tiny house theme, if that could be a theme. So it's just fun. I'm having so much fun with playing. So that is what's going on my desk. I would love to hear from you, what you are writing, how writing is going for you. Come over and join my Slack. I will put the invite URL at howdoyouwrite.net in the show notes for this episode. I have been inside Slack a lot more than I'm ever inside Facebook. And it's really fun to see what people are doing. So come join that if you would like. Totally free, totally fun. And now I will let you get to listening to the fabulous interview with Phillipi Ryan. I know you're going to enjoy it. I hope you enjoy your own writing and tell me about it if you get a second. Okay, we'll talk soon. Well, I could not be more pleased this morning to welcome to the show Phillipi Ryan. Hello, Hank.
Hey, how are you?
I am so thrilled to have you on the show.
It's about to snow in Boston, so we'll see.
It is it's really dark and gloomy in California this morning. Let me give you a little bio for the very few people who might not know who you are. I doubt there are any listening. Phillipi Ryan is an on-air investigative reporter for Boston's WHDH-TV, winning 34 Emmys and dozens more journalism honors. The nationally best-selling author of 11 mysteries, Ryan's also an award winner in her second profession with 5 Agathas, 3 Anthonys, 2 Macavitys, the Daphne, and the Mary Higgins Clark Award. Her novels are Library Journal's Best of 2014, 2015, and 2016. Her current book is the psychological thriller Trust Me, which is an Agatha Nominee, which I loved, and also named a best thriller by New York Post, BookBub, Real Simple Magazine, and CrimeReads. Her 2019 book will be The Murder List, coming in August. That's quite a bio. That's just really fun to say. Is it fun to hear?
Yes, it is really fun to hear. And I'll tell you why is that, we sit here, and you know this so well, by ourselves, looking at the computer screen, wondering if anybody will love our books or whether this is all worth it or whether anyone will care or why it all matters. And, how many times do we descend into, I can't do this. Why, whose idea was this? Why did I ever think I could possibly do this? And so to hear someone who I respect as much as I respect you, reading something that sort of indicates to me, you kind of are doing this. This is kind of working. So just persevere. It's lovely to hear. I don't think we remind ourselves enough of what's good about our lives. We sort of always want the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I think it's so valuable, even to take, that 30 seconds that we took with the intro. And I think, okay, good. Look, I'm going to do my words for the day. I think it might be worth it.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's so grounding to hear, too. So tell us about your process. How have you managed to get all of this done? What does it look like, the nitty-gritty of your writing day?
It's interesting because I'm balancing working at Channel 7 still with writing still. And so I have to be very organized about it. One of the things that's worked so nicely about having been I've been a television reporter for more than 40 years.
That's
learn,
unbelievable.
I know, it's crazy. You learn in that time, you're never going to miss a deadline. How good you are depends on your devotion and your obsession and your compulsion and your determination and your dedication to it. And in television, I have my news director who's waiting for the story. If I said to her, can I be on the news at like 10 after 6 instead of 6? Would that be okay? Because I'm not really feeling it. I would be out of a job. And so as an author, as a person who has to be a self-starter, as a person who's every day I'm writing an enterprise story, right? I'm writing it out of my own brain, and I know it has to be done, and I know it has to be good, and I know it's my responsibility, only mine, to do that. And if I don't write my book, more people are going to be happy than unhappy because they all have books, and they, if I get out of the way, that would be great. So I am determined and devoted and focused on writing. I have a certain number of words a day that I need to write. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to do that. I know that at some point in the book, at the beginning, it's going to be step by clawing step to get through. And then I know that there's the moment where I think, oh, I get this. I feel this book. And I zoom through until I get to the middle where I'm sort of climbing, like, I just got to get to this now. And then there's the point where you think, oh, I understand this. And then there's the bigger moment. And this is sort of hard to explain, but I know you'll get this. There's the moment where I understand what the whole book is, what I meant to be writing all this time. And somebody told me once, it was like dropping a drop of iodine into a glass of clear water when you get the idea. It just colors it all. You know what I mean? You think, oh, this is my book about redemption. This is my book about justice. I get that now. So I just persevere. I am so impatient, and we're all so impatient. I just sort of want to see what happens in the end. So, but you just do it step by step by step. And honestly, it's math.
Yes.
I tell myself, if I just keep adding to the book, it inevitably, inexorably, it has to be done. And so I just keep going. And that's such a silly thing to say, just sit down and do it. And I think I roll my eyes when I hear myself say that. But that's it. That is what it is. It's work. It's great work, and we're lucky to be able to do it. I'm thrilled every day with it. But it's difficult, and I embrace that difficulty.
Do you write first thing in the morning, or are you an afternoon writer, or anytime?
Oh my goodness. If I wrote first thing in the morning, you would see me down here in this office with my head clonked against the computer. I can't write in the morning. Forget about it. But I think after all these years of working for the 6 o'clock news and the 11 o'clock news, my brain has been trained to rev up when it gets to that time of day. So I'm really good at about 3 in the afternoon, and I'm really good at about 10 at night, because my brain starts to go. And I do think that's it's all those years of having to be on the news at a certain time. I mean, I can tell you when it's 5 o'clock, and I can tell you when it's 10 o'clock without even any time implements, because my body is just, my brain is just so tuned to that. So I know when my good writing times are. So in the morning is when I do email and all the endless administrative stuff that comes with this. And I don't worry about it, because I think, okay, I'll get this done and then I'll write at my time to write. And I know I know that a lot of writers say write first, because if you write first, that means the writing is your priority. And I understand that. But my writing is my priority, and my priority is to do it at the time that it's going to work. So if I sit down at the computer at 7 a.m. and I sit here and do nothing, till noon, what's the point of that? And so I always think about Lee Child. Lee Child always says, nothing good happens before noon. So I take that to heart.
I love that. And it is a counterpoint to so many people who say write first thing in the morning. Yeah. So I love that you're sharing that. Are you, we're going to get into the questions now, but are you more of a plotter or a pantser?
Pantser.
You are a pantser. I can't believe it. Oh.
And that is what I love your face. That's so funny. That's what gets me to the computer every day, is I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. How is she going to get out of this? How is he going to make a decision about that? What will happen? Who's going to come in? And what unbelievable thing that I have never thought of will occur. And it happens. You can't, I don't, knock on wood that I'm saying this to you, but I don't worry about it. I just think I'll just sit down and I'll see what happens. And then at some point, inevitably, the story does come together. And at some point, I'll start just on a yellow pad by my desk, start writing, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. But that rarely happens until about 3/5 of the way through, when I begin to see what the journey is. But at the beginning, I'm just sort of filling it up with things. And then I see what things I'll use that are going to braid together to tie up all the loose ends in the end. And then I may go back and take out some things that were sort of didn't go anywhere.
Right.
But I don't know what's going to matter until it matters. And so I just leave it there knowing, and I have a little list of loose ends. It'll say, who was on the phone? Who was the text from? Where did she go? What happened then? Why did the lights go out?
What a good idea. That's such
then if I don't, my classic one is, whose baby is it? and I thought, whoa, if I don't know that now, that's going to be kind of a problem. And then it turned out, and it bothered me the whole time. And when I realized it, I just thought, oh boy, yes, that's what it was. So the answers to your plot problems are in my case at least, are what I've already written. It's just a question of, when do I recognize them? And that's very exciting to me. It used to be terrifying, but now it's exciting.
I'm still terrified. I've found the same thing, but I'm still terrified. I'm terrified every day. Someday I'm going to be able to let that go.
Well, we don't want to let it go totally, because then, because part of that terror is reining in reality. I mean, you can feel when your brain begins to take a little tangent, and I say, oh, Hank, no, that's not going to work. That's just not going to work. And if your brain's saying that's not going to work, it probably isn't going to work. But you have a delete button. You just take it out or move it or save it. My first book that I ever wrote, Primetime, the first draft of it was 723 pages. I had to delete 400 pages. And it was the best experience I've ever had. It showed me how I repeat and what my crutch words are, and how I say things over and over and over and over and over, when really just, you get it. You just tell, the reader is smart. Readers get it. Just tell them once. Like, I just said that 4 times. It's exactly what I used to do.
You are delightful.
Yeah.
What is the biggest challenge you have when it comes to writing?
My biggest challenge is also, I think, one of my skills, and I know that sounds sort of funny to say, is that I actively am trying to be better every day. I'm trying to, every moment every word, every sentence, every scene, I'm trying to make that be compelling and riveting. I want people to miss their stop on the subway because they can't put this book down. And I think, how am I going to do that? So my challenge is sort of an interesting balance between, really focusing on craft, and on the other hand, completely letting go and not worrying about making it be too perfect. And that's an interesting thing, because you want your brain to go. You want to let your imagination go. You want to be able to feel the story. And sometimes, I mean, you know this as a writer, sometimes things happen in your book that you don't plan. I mean, every day for me. So you want to embrace that. But on the other hand, and you want to be a little voicey and a little edgy and allow your personality to come through, but not in a stupid way. I don't need to, but so now I'm babbling, but so I'm trying so hard to be good. At the same time, I'm trying so hard not to try. Does that, I mean,
it makes perfect sense. At
what sense to you, sweetheart, we're in trouble.
Well, does that mean that you do write kind of a loose first draft? And
yes.
Then, yeah.
My goal with the first draft, it's not that it's loose, although it is, and I always wind up cutting $20,000 words. I always wind up cutting 20,000 words when I'm finished. So I write way too long, and I take it out. I take it all out. But my goal with my first draft is just to be finished. I have a yellow sticky on my computer that says advance the story, advance the story, advance the story, because you can get all caught up in what if this and what if this and what if this and what if this, and I just say pick one and go, because you can fix it later. But if I don't get my words done for the day, the book is not going to be finished, and there are people in New York who are relying on it to be done at the time that it's supposed to be done. So I need to be done, and I know that the editing process is when the book is really going to shine. That's when I'm going to make it work. That's when it's going to turn into a good book. Editing is the ball game. It's the complete ball game. And so I need to get that first draft done. As sometimes I'm typing and I'm going, this is terrible. You're never going to get away with this. And I won't, because I'll take it out later. I recognize it, but I just need to get on. I
love that.
So when I'm editing, at the end, when I'm editing, when people say, oh, kill your darlings, I'm like, yeah, kill them. They're not darling to me at all if they're ruining the pacing and ruining the timing and getting in the way of the story. When I'm trying to be cute, or when I'm trying to be writerly, or, when I'm too much description, or too much, background, or too much backstory, or too much internal thought, no. It all goes. And there's the moment where, when you take that stuff out, that extraneous, unnecessary stuff, and you take it out and you put together what was before it and after it, and you see the book you meant to write, it's all there. You just have to carve out the parts that matter. And that's very exciting to me.
That's one of my favorite parts of writing. The next question is, what's your biggest joy in writing? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. I could hear that in your voice.
Yeah. I mean, it's that, when I gasp sometimes at how, if I have paragraph A and B and C, and I take out paragraph B, and I see how A and C go together, and I'm shocked. I think, I wrote that? That's pretty good. And those moments of rare but joyful moments of, well, this is a good story. That was pretty smart. And it's ephemeral, and the next moment you're like, I stink, I don't even know why I do this, but I live, if I have one good idea a day, isn't that pretty great? And you think, well, I can have one good idea a day, but I'm not going to have it if I'm not sitting at my computer writing. I know a lot of people, I think about my books all the time. They're always in my head. I'm walking down the street thinking about it. But I rarely, except for in the shower, when I really do come up with good ideas, I rarely come up with my brilliant ideas, I use the term loosely, if I'm not sitting at the computer.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah, the muse, I've always said my muse is my work. I cannot The
That's
muse does not come until my fingers are moving, and I never see her coming, and she hits me in the back of the head, and there it is. But it wouldn't come to me if I was doing anything else, except maybe a bath, sometimes in the bath.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes
Yeah.
that water element
Yeah.
is really interesting. But I think it might be the muse's way of getting you to sit down at that computer.
Exactly.
There's the promise that she'll come.
That's the only way I can lure her in. Yeah. So I always like to ask a question about can you share a craft tip with us? And I usually leave it open, but because I love your books in particular and study them for my own work. And we were talking about this a little bit at the beginning. Because of your tight pacing, can you share a craft tip of any sort about how to pace a thriller? I mentioned that I come from the women's fiction world, and I'm kind of languorous about getting to the to the main to the meat of the action. How do you do that?
Well, I have learned a couple of things. One is, after having written for television for all these years, I have a very short amount of time to, my stories for television are 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes. I'm an investigative reporter. So this is a lot of complicated information that I need to really distill, take only the most important, compelling, riveting, enlightening, educational parts, and make that into a story, because that's what TV is, a story with a beginning, middle, and end, so you won't turn the channel.
Your career has been and was training you for this. So I just need to become 100%. An investigative reporter.
And so, exactly. Yeah. And don't do it.
No, it's much too hard.
Run away. But that did teach me to say, do I need this part? Do I need this part? What about this? The other thing that taught me about it, in a hilarious other way, my husband, when I first started writing, when I first had the good idea for a book, which was when I was 55 is when I started writing, which is like almost 15 years ago, which is craziness. I was writing and I was thinking, oh, I'm such a natural. This is so great. And every day I would take my 5 pages that I wrote and take them to my husband, and he would read them. And I would hear laughter, because my first book, Primetime, and the other Charlie McNally books were a little bit lighter sensibility. Yep. So after about 10 days, I'm hiding around the corner, waiting for my laughter, because I'm just, all of us are so needy. And I didn't hear anything. There was not a sound. There was no reaction whatsoever. So I skulk into the dining room and I say, oh, I'm terrible, right? I'm terrible. I shouldn't be doing this. And Jonathan says, no, honey, you're a good writer, and this is going to be a good book. But is something going to happen soon? So I just la-di-da, la-di-da.
That's me.
Leading into, is something going to happen? And so I took that to heart so much. I look at every line, every word, and certainly every sentence and every paragraph and every scene. Do I need this? What work is it doing? Have I already said this? Sometimes you can, in writing like I do, I realize that what I've done is sort of written my brain thinking about what might happen. And I often, if I just take my own thoughts out, it's left with the decision. And I have learned, and this is such an important thing, if you take out all the qualifiers, like kind of, sort of, might be, could be, and make it be is, like it's kind of rainy outside. Why not just have it be raining? It's raining. And why not have it be like really hard? You can say it better, but the worst rainstorm there's ever been, or torrential downpour, a sudden torrential, wouldn't say sudden, but a sudden torrential downpour is better than kind of raining. Or she kind of thought this, or she sort of thought that. I go through in my editing process, one of my editing passes is to take out the floppy, tentative qualifiers. So you just have it is this, it is this. And that makes everything so strong. And then you begin to realize what you don't need. Does that make any sense to you?
It makes perfect sense, yeah.
And once you start doing that, once you start being confident, if your characters are being confident, then your story is being confident, then you as a writer are being confident, because you're not worrying, oh, I wonder if this is the right thing. It is, because it is the story that you're telling, and makes the whole thing strong and move fast. I also, one of the things about pacing is I make sure that my main characters are leading the action, that things that she's the advancing the story, not something is happening to him or something is happening to her that then makes the story go ahead. What is the least amount that I can tell you that will make the story be compelling, so that you have to turn the pages real fast to find out what happens next, because something is always, I mean, yes, of course you need those little breathing rooms, and you need the seagull to fly over or the wind to go through the trees, but like for one line, you get that. As a writer, you don't need the purple bruise clouds of sunset and the thunder. You don't really set the scene fast, get out, do it, and then have the setting. This is my final thing. Instead of talking about setting as setting, have the setting be part of the action. And so then you don't need all those setting paragraphs. Then
how so?
I'm sorry?
How so? Can you?
Well, she brushed the pine tree. She brushed the prickly leaves out of her way. Now she doesn't have to be in a stand of pine trees.
Right.
She uses the setting.
She's interacting with it.
Yes, interacting with the setting. Exactly. So because it's snowing, she has to wear a coat and she can't see and her glasses fog up and there's the headlights of her car are dim. All the things that the setting, all the situations that the setting creates, which are obstacles, use that instead of describing that it's a snowstorm.
I feel like that's $1 million tip right there. I really do. I think I try to do that organically, but I've never heard it said so succinctly. Huh. And you're doing so much with that. So much use of that. I just heard my listeners' brains explode in excitement with that particular tip.
Thank you.
Well, what is the best book you read recently that you would recommend?
Oh my gosh, the best book I read recently that I would recommend. I'm reading Red Notice, which is a nonfiction book by Bill Broder, which is about the Russian oligarchs. I read a book called A Talent for Murder. Do you know this book by Andrew Wilson?
No, but it's a great title.
It's about it's fictional, but it's about where Agatha Christie was during those 2 weeks that she was missing.
I have heard everybody's talking about this book. Is it good?
Yes, it's for people like us who know about Agatha Christie and know how you write a mystery and know how you could take real events from real life and make them, because that's what Trust Me is real events from real life made into fiction. He really does that in a fantastic way. I just read yesterday or so Annie Ward's Beautiful Bad, which is about a thriller set in Bulgaria.
Ooh.
Which is, I know it sounds exotic but it's really in Bulgaria and in the United States, but it's exciting and very different. So this isn't that the hardest question? First of all, I don't want to say I have so many wonderful books that I'm reading, and my house is surrounded by them. So to pick out certain ones. I finally read Confessions of a Comma Queen, about the woman who was the grammar editor for the New Yorker, and that's brilliant book. So that's the real name of it, right? So
yes.
Those kinds. Oh, you know what else? Radium Girls by Kate. What's her last name? Moore. About the women who painted the radium dials on the instruments and watches in the war, and how sick they got. It was the devastatingly sad book, and it's those brave women were what started occupational health and safety laws in the United States, and it's devastating. So many good books. It's just this is why we're all such a community.
This is a purely selfish question that I always ask, because then I write them all down and I put them on my TBR pile lately. Okay, so now let's bring it back to you. Can you please tell our listeners where you can be found maybe a little bit about the upcoming The Murder List. I'm assuming that's available for pre-sale now.
You bet it is. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, it is available.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I'm very thrilled about Trust Me. Trust Me is
I loved it.
One obsessed journalist, one troubled mom facing off in a high-stakes cat and mouse game to prove their truth about a terrible crime. But which one is the cat and which one is the mouse?
It's such a good log line. It's so good.
I love it. And did you see the cover? Okay, I'm going to show you this.
Yes,
and I know
please.
that the radio listeners won't see it, but I'm holding up the cover of Trust Me, and you can see it now. And it is red stripes with Trust Me on the front. But if you turn it this way, do you see what it really says? Liar.
No. I see it perfectly, and I never would have noticed that.
No, it says liar
underneath.
That's
genius.
Turn the book sideways, and now you can't unsee it.
I can't unsee it now.
and I always say, that's just like the truth, and that's what the book is about. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And I'm very proud of this. It was just nominated for the Agatha Award, so I'm thrilled about that. And now available in beautiful trade paperback, and they changed the cover a little bit, which I love, because sort of the silence of these empty swings show, where did the children go?
I would pick it up in softback like that.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Isn't it beautiful? Please do. The Murder List, I'm so excited about, comes out in August. When does your book come out? Are we
in
coming
August?
Out?
I want to say it's the third week in August.
I think mine too. We should go on tour together.
Oh, let's do it. You're
book
Macmillan, right?
I'm Macmillan.
Yeah, I'm Penguin. Mine is called Stolen Things.
Stolen Things. All right, look for that, all you listeners. Anyway, The Murder List comes out in mid-August. It's another psychological standalone, like Trust Me. Stars a young law student named Rachael North. She's savvy and smart and determined and very reliable, and she will tell you the truth. She will tell you that she's happily married to a defense attorney, a lion of the Boston Defense Bar. She has a great summer internship with a very, very smart district attorney, which means that her career as a lawyer is set. She's a rising star. The problem is Rachael is very wrong. And it's what happens when the battle for justice becomes a battle for survival.
Yeah. So good. Do you come up with log lines before you're writing the book, or is this something that is finalized afterwards?
It depends. When I wrote The Other Woman, the first Jane Ryland book, I saw someone was quoted in a magazine article about marital infidelity. And someone was quoted as saying, "You can choose your sin, but you cannot choose your consequences." And I thought, okay, that's my book. And that's on the cover of The Other Woman. So sometimes I think of them before, and sometimes they just evolve. It depends. But it's so important to find a good log line, so that you want somebody to, when they hear about your book, you want somebody to say, "Ooh, I can't wait to read that." And the minute someone says, "Ooh, I can't wait to read that," and that face, you've seen that face,
yes,
then you've got it.
Yes. Oh, perfect. It has been such a delight and a thrill and an honor to talk to you today. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
So
you were
much.
asking. I have find me on Facebook.
Oh, yes, please.
Find me on Instagram. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. PhILLIPPIRYAN.com. Cleverly is my website. And if you click on contact on my website, it comes right to me. So there's no middle person in between that. So I'd love to hear from everyone. And if you have any writing questions, come on, ask me. Love to chat with you.
That's so generous. Thank you, Hank. Oh my gosh, you've absolutely made my day, and it's earlier here in California, so now I can go into my day and just be riding on the waves of talking to you. Thank you for sharing your time and your expertise. It's been a delight.
For me too. Thank you.